Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I think this might be one of my last videos of the year. So before we get into the video itself, I wanted to take a few minutes to thank all of you so much for taking the time to watch my videos throughout this year and leave all of your thoughtful comments. All of your kind words and your thoughtful conversations have gone so far in motivating me to continue making videos. I really want this channel to be a safe space where we can talk about anything from fountain pens to planners and journals, and of course, mental health topics like anxiety, ADHD, and different ways that we can practice self-care so we can get through the day. While this time of the year can be really festive and joyous, I want to acknowledge that that's not how it is for everyone. So whether you're celebrating for some type of holiday or you're just trying to get through these next few weeks, I hope you can have an opportunity to slow down, be gentle with yourself, and do at least one nice thing for yourself. In this video, I just wanted to slow down and have a casual, stationary catch-up chat with you. And then I wanted to spend some time playing around with some new watercolor paints that I recently got a few weeks ago. So if that sounds like something that would interest you, then I'm looking forward to spending the next little while with you. I have a lot of little things that I want to catch you up on. So we will start with those little things. And depending on how long this video gets, I was also thinking about doing some travel journal. So grab yourself tea or coffee or your favorite cozy beverage. My beverage today is hot water. And my snack of choice are these little biscuits. They are very similar to the ones that I showed in a previous video. This is what the packaging looks like. So these are the mini chocolate sable biscuits, and the biscuit has a very strong butter taste, and the butter in Japan definitely tastes different to the butter in Toronto. So these have a very distinct taste. And grab yourself a journal or a planner or something to keep you company while we hang out and chat. Okay, so the first thing that I'll catch you up on is a couple of updates I've made to my beloved Traveler's Notebook. First, I've added a couple of charms to my elastic. This one is a Traveler's Factory Fly to the World from Japan brass tag that I got from Narita Airport. And then this is one of those little buttons that I had converted into a charm at the Narita Airport as well. And I really like how this lighter blue matches with this string. The other update is, I think in my original video where I showed you this cover, I had trouble getting my favorite pen, my Pilot Custom 823, in this leather loop, and I had thought maybe I just wouldn't put any of my thicker pens in this leather pen loop. So for a while I was just putting in my Pilot Vanishing Point pens because that one fit very easily without any issue. But over time I've noticed that this has stretched really easily. So it's a little bit tight getting the pen in and out, but the important thing is that it does fit, and I think over time it will get a little bit easier to use. And I'm really happy because I use this notebook for my long form journaling. This is the pen that I use for long form journaling, and I would have preferred to keep these two together. So I'm very happy to report that this fits very comfortably in this leather pen loop now. And then the final update that I have is I had a chance to decorate my 2 inserts for my weekly vertical. So I wanted to show you. Just double checking that that is in frame. most of these things are stickers from the 2025 Love and Trip, and I thought it was appropriate to use these stickers because they have the 2025 date on them, so I'd rather use them in 2025 instead of hoarding them for future years. This is some packaging that I added on, and I kept the string as well from when I went to the Traveler's Factory and they wrapped up my purchase and they put a little tag with some string. And then I have some washi from one of my bags that I got from my Traveler's Factory, and then of course some of the washi. And I've tried to make these feel like sister inserts. So this is January to July, and I've put volume 1. And this, I guess I could have put January to July now that I think about it, but I used the, what are they called? I used the transfer letters that come with that sticker set, the Traveler's Notebook sticker set. I'm really happy with how these turned out. So this was the label for these 2 weekly verticals. And these are more of the Love and Trip stickers, some more of that Traveler's Factory washi tape. And this sticker here came with these inserts. So when you get these inserts, you get 2 big circle stickers. One of them is here, and the other one I haven't used yet. I'm almost finished this insert, and I'm not sure what the next ones will look like, so I wanted to keep these a little more neutral. So I ended up using my favorite William Morris MT washi tape. This one is my all-time favorite washi tape, and if I could afford it, I would totally wallpaper one of my rooms with this wallpaper. And I'm looking forward to moving into this book. It looks like it starts the final week of December, so I will be moving into that very soon. I know December is quite a month of Inkvents, and I've actually been participating in an Inkvent as well. So I wanted to share the Inkvent that I am participating in is one that somebody organized through the Canadian Fountain Pens Facebook group, and it is a sample Inkvent. And the one that this person put together is full of inks that she purchased directly from Japan. And her intention was to get inks that weren't available in Canada for the most part. I will show you. We are on, at the time of me filming this, I've been using the December monthly in my A6 to track the Inkvents, and I hope this isn't a spoiler or anything because I don't think there are too many people who are participating in this. So I've been having a lot of fun sampling these Japanese inks, and I already have a couple of favorites that I am excited to ink into a pen. I think the most interesting is this Tono and Lim's Friendship Rays of Light. I don't know if you can see this, but it's like a gray, and then when it dries there's this really cool yellow that looks like a ray of light. So I think that's really cool. I've also been using the daily pages and just finding little spots on my daily page to play with the ink. So how it works, I think, is really cute. You get this letter, and it just has instructions on how to engage in the Inkvent. And so it's here. This year's inks are all imported from Japan. It includes inks from 9 different brands and collaborators. And this person had to order a lot of these inks blind because a lot of them didn't have an internet presence. So I'm really grateful that this person took the time to put this together, because I can only imagine how much work it would have been to order all of these inks well in advance, put them all into little sample vials, and then ship them across Canada to everyone who participated in it. And I got my Inkvent in late September. So this is what all of the ink samples look like. They come in these vials and they're numbered and they're blank. And then there's this daily ink reveal cards kind of envelope. And there's 2 cards, and the way she set it up is you pull up the card slowly and you can reveal the ink that corresponds to the day. So I just think this is so fun. And here's a peek at the inks up until the 8th of December. Maybe I'll do a bit of a roundup to share some of my top favorites, and maybe I'll ink some of these into pens and we can do like a currently inked. And I'll just show you, I've been kind of keeping track of the Inkvents in the back of a coloring testing book. So I'll show you, like, this is maybe a bigger swatch of what the inks have been like. This one was a scented ink, so it smelled like strawberries. I'm really into purple inks right now for some reason, so I really like this violet color. This Starry Night, I think there's a little bit of a sheen on this one, so this one's really pretty. This is a gorgeous ink. I'm really excited to ink this into a pen. And here's that rays of light again. I'm really interested to see if that yellow shows up when I actually ink it into a pen. So I think I'm actually going to put this in my Pilot Vanishing Point medium nib to see if it shows up with a broader line. I'm not sure if it would show up in my fine or extra fine nibs. So yeah, that's the Inkvent. I've been doing a little swatch in the calendar, on the daily page, in this ink swatch card, and I've also been adding it to my 5-year Hobonichi, which has been really nice because it's given me a reason to go into my 5-year journal every day. And I think in my last video I mentioned that I typically don't go into my 5-year until like the end of the week, and so I had said that it would be nice if I, was in that book every day, but I haven't really been able to make a habit of it. But because I've been doing this Inkvent and I've been adding it to my 5-year journal, the result is I've been in my 5-year journal every day, and I've actually been keeping up with my entries because of that. So who knows, maybe I will be able to start getting into the habit of being in my 5-year on a daily basis. The next thing I wanted to touch on really quickly is a very quick recap of Scriptus. So I went to Scriptus this year in October, and I went to Scriptus with Tiffany from Talksmot. We had such a fun time, and I had zero plans on buying any pens because I had just come back from Japan, but I did come across a pen that I actually gasped when I saw it, and it is this really beautiful metallic pink Decimo. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I just really fell in love with this pen, and I love the extra fine nib. I do find it very sharp, but I love the gold trim, and my other Decimo has the rhodium trim. And I got it for a really good price. The person who was selling it said that she had never used it, and I just kept the label on for now, although I normally remove them. So I've been using this pen for about a month since I've had it, and I love it. It has really reignited my love for the Vanishing Point capless pens. And then I'll show you a couple of other things that I picked up at Scriptus. So I got this really beautiful Ink Miser stabilizer in blonde and walnut. So because I tend to have a lot more ink samples than I do ink bottles, and I have a few like piston filler type of pens, I have been wanting to get an Ink Miser for a while. And when I saw this beautiful stand at the fountain pendulum table, I
decided to treat myself. So I just love how small and compact this is. And then I also got the ink miser itself. It fits perfectly, and it's a little snug, which is great because it makes me feel like it's not going to easily topple over. And so I've never used one of these before, but my understanding is that you can pour an ink sample in here and then it makes it easier for you to fill certain pens. When it comes to my Pilot Custom 823, I don't tend to change that ink too often, but I do have samples of other brown inks that I would love to try in that pen, but because they're samples, they're a lot harder to fill that pen up with. I'm really glad that I have this now. I also got this little ink sample stamp, which I think is really cute. And I believe these were 3D printed, and I can't recall the name of the vendor right now, but I do have the card somewhere, so I will add that information on the screen or in the description. I thought it was really unique that they created a sample stamp because I have a lot of like ink bottle stamps, but I actually have more ink samples than I do ink bottles, so I think this would be really fun to use. And then at Wonder Pens, the owner's son was creating these random buttons, and you could donate some money and grab a button if you wanted to. So I grabbed this really cute button with roses on it. I also got this really beautiful vintage blotting paper. So one of the vintage pen retailers, she had a box of these blotting papers. She allowed us to each grab one of our choice. So I got this beautiful dark green blotting paper. And I also got these 2 stickers from the Esterbrook table. And I also got to try out a bunch of the beautiful Esterbrook pens. So that was really cool to be able to try all of those in person. And then I also got this Wonder Pens Scriptus 2024 postcard, and we got to pick a stamp at the table, and they stamped the corner for us. So yeah, Scriptus was really great. It was really fun to go to Scriptus with a pen friend. I did go to Scriptus last year, but I went on my own, and I definitely spent a lot more time exploring with a friend, and it was really cool to experience that with someone else and have conversations with other pen enthusiasts. And this was such an unexpected but delightful surprise, and I surprisingly have been finding this gold trim EF nib to be more smoother to write with compared to my rhodium trim extra fine nib on my blue Decimo. So I don't know if I'm just imagining that or if that's an actual difference, but I'm enjoying using this pen a lot more. The last thing that I want to talk about, and then we'll go ahead to do some journaling, is this watercolor set that was gifted to me by Paul Rubens. They actually gifted me 3 things, and this is not sponsored. They gave me these watercolor art brushes, and I haven't even opened this yet. We've got 10 brushes. They also gave me this watercolor calendar. It took me a while to process what this is, but I think it's watercolor paper with 2025 on it, and it comes with a little stand. So let me go ahead and open it. Okay, so it comes with oh, look at that. It's like a little face, which I think is really cute. I don't know how this works. Oh, I think maybe like this. Okay, so I think it comes in this stand. It's like a little bunny. And this is watercolor paper. Okay, so they're not stuck together, but at the bottom they have the calendar days, which is interesting. They've got Monday to Sunday and then Monday to Sunday. So they've kept it very minimal at the bottom, and I guess to leave you more room for using this watercolor paper. And each page has a different quote from an artist. So this one says, "Art is not what you see, but what you make others see," by Edgar Degas. And then on the bottom, there's more quotes. This one says, "The painter has the universe in his mind and hands," Leonardo da Vinci. I think that's really cool. So I guess the way you could use the stand to have this watercolor on your desk. So I think that could be a really cool little challenge to try to watercolor at least once a month, which is more than I'm doing right now. And it looks like it is 300 gram, it's pure cotton 100%, 300 G/m squared. I'm not sure if there's any more information on this type of watercolor paper. Thank you so much to Paul Rubens for sharing that. The main thing though is this watercolor set, and I thought the timing was really interesting when they reached out because I had just come back from my Japan trip and I had been thinking about what I wanted to do with my sketchbook. So this is my insert that I will be using as my travel memory keeper for my trip. And the first insert in here is the one that I actually had on my trip. And I had done some sketching while I was there. And all of this is waterproof ink. So I had been thinking that I maybe wanted to watercolor this sketchbook, but I guess I kind of needed a push to do it, if that makes sense. So my thinking was, I'd love to try this watercolor and maybe do some watercoloring in my traveler's sketchbook. So let's take a look at this watercoloring together. But this is what it looks like on the inside. So it is 24 colors. And it looks like they give you this kind of swatch card, which is actually really cool. Maybe as a starting point, I can fill this out so I can have a reference for what these look like. And here is, I guess, a color list. These look really beautiful. So in terms of the type of watercolor, according to the packaging, these are solid watercolor pigments. I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap all of these. I'll do a few on camera and then let's see. Okay, so, oh, okay. It's pretty easy actually. I thought sometimes these types of things come with a lot of wrapping, but it looks like it's just a little bit of packaging. So this shouldn't take too long. I'll just speed this up. And I'm trying to figure out if there's an easier way for me to unwrap these because there's quite a lot of them. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video and then I'm gonna be right back when I've actually taken all of these out. Okay, so that took a little while, but I got all of the packaging off and I took the two additional ones that were loose here and I put them on either side. So I guess this is something that I could maybe put. Okay, no. I was thinking maybe I could put a pencil, a watercolor brush in here. Let me see. So this is the watercolor brush that I normally use. I've had this brush for years. It's a Winsor & Newton University Series brush. I've had it for a really long time. But I think today I am going to try out some of these brushes that they gifted to me. It's a synthetic light wish brush. I think I'm going to try this one. I don't know why. No rhyme or reason. It's just what I'm going to try. And I think I'm going to start with this card just because then I don't have to write out all of the names again. I hope I kept this in the same order. I had a little bit of an accident where some of these got rearranged. So let's try what I think is ultramarine. Oh, that's very bright. Next, let's do this Mars Black. Okay, so I don't think that this matches, unless I'm missing something. I don't see Mars Black here. Okay, so change of plan. It doesn't look like all the colors are here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do instead is I have this watercolor pad. I'm just gonna use this instead to swatch everything. And I think this is maybe gonna take a really long time, but I think I'm actually just gonna go ahead and take these labels and I'm gonna just put them here and use that to help guide the swatch because I wanna make sure that I have enough room. I'm just gonna go ahead and divide this page. Oh, I think the confusing thing is they actually gave me 26 paints instead of 24. So I guess I got extra paint. I'm gonna glue each of these labels onto this paper and then I will do the swatching. So I'm gonna pause the video for now because this is gonna take a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this and then I'll meet you back and we'll do some swatches together. Okay, so I have finished gluing all of these labels. I've realized that I have 2 ultramarines apparently, and I'm just gonna start. I hope I have these in the correct order. So we will find out together. If something feels funny, then let me know in the comments. But let's take a look at these paints. So I'm just gonna line this up so that it looks similar. And we'll go ahead and start again with, it's actually like this. Okay, I got nervous. So I think that is an ultramarine. It's also, unfortunately, getting dark outside, so I might have to show you what this swatch looks like in the daylight at another time. This one is called Cerulean Blue Hue. Okay, this next one is called Purple Lake. Okay, and then we have Alizarin Crimson Hue. Okay, next we have Permanent Rose. Allegedly Cadmium Red. This one's called Cadmium Red Pale. I don't know if that's right. Okay, I might have missed one, but I have a feeling that I'm gonna have to look this up, but this feels a little more, this doesn't feel like a cadmium to me. So I think this is the cadmium. I must have missed a color. I'm gonna have to correct the labels. I missed this one. I'll have to fix that later. So we'll continue on. And I think my water is getting a bit dirty, so this is probably going to come out a little more red than it should. I'm just going to go change my water. Okay, we carry on. So next we have Cadmium Yellow. And we'll do Lemon Yellow next. And finally, we'll do Chinese White, which won't really show up on this, so we won't worry about that too much. Okay, let's go on to the other side and hope we don't accidentally skip one of them. To make things a little easier for myself, I'm gonna make them go the same way. Okay, so this one is Mars Black. And this one is Ivory Black. Burnt Umber. This one is Van Dyke Brown. This one is Burnt Sienna. Emerald. Hooker's Green Light. Oh, that's a really pretty green. This one is Sap Green. I really like that one as well. Sap Green is one of my favorites. This one is Indigo. This one is Intense Blue. This one is Ultramarine, so it should be the same as this if they're labeled correctly. Yeah, it looks like it's the same. This last one is Cobalt Blue. Oh, I really like that one too. So apart from the little blender that I had on this side, this is the palette. Bear in mind these are a little bit out of order and I'll fix that after. I'll let that dry and I'll see how that looks a little bit later. I probably might erase that pencil line as well. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and maybe try to do a little bit of watercoloring in my traveler's insert. I don't think I'm gonna film that because that's gonna get really long, but I'll show a little bit of it and then I'll come back and report back on how things go when I've had a chance to really explore this set. Let me go ahead and see if there's a page that I want to test this in. I don't think this paper is particularly meant for watercolor, so I do want to be careful about how much water I'm actually laying on this page. But let me just do a couple of test ones. Okay, so I think as a first trial, I'm going to use a really thin brush. I'm going to use a much smaller brush because there'll be less water on it. And like I said, this isn't meant to be watercolor paper, so I don't want to add too much to it. I'll start with just doing these letters to see how that goes. And I think for us, okay, well, I guess I'll just dive in. I'm gonna try not to overthink it too much because then I'll be here for a really long time. I'll start off with one of the reds. Let's go with this one. I'm gonna paint the traveler's notebook covers. So I brought a dark brown one for myself, or sorry, I brought my camel one for myself, and then I gave Mike my dark brown one. Okay, this time I'm gonna add a little bit of water first. It's gonna represent my camel because it was quite well patinaed, so I wanted to see if I can maybe emulate that a little bit. Okay, we'll let that dry and see how that goes. I want to add a touch of black to that. Maybe I can use this interesting color. This is supposed to be a bread roll.
Okay, so I just wanted to come back on and check in with you on the progress I made with my travel journal sketchbook. I find it kind of difficult to paint while I'm filming myself, and it was getting pretty dark when I filmed that last clip, so I wanted to come back during the day and show you what I've done so far. Overall, I really enjoyed using the watercolor set from Paul Rubens. I'm not a watercolor artist by any means, so please take my opinions with a grain of salt. I also think it would only be fair to try this watercolor on proper watercolor paper before coming to any formal conclusions about how this watercolor works. But I found it to be quite easy to use on the Midori paper, even though the paper is not specifically meant to be for watercolor. The only comparison that I have is I typically use a Winsor Newton paint set that my mom gifted to me a few years ago. I really love their paint as well, but it's a much more limited color palette, which means I often have to spend a lot more time mixing colors before I paint. A more skilled artist is going to need to be better at color theory and being able to mix the colors they want. But color theory in general, when it comes to mixing paints, is not really my strong suit. So I actually really enjoyed having more colors to work with in this Paul Rubens palette. So it just made it a little easier to jump right in and start adding colors to my pages. Also, you might see some metallic paint. That was actually from a different paint set that I've also had for quite a few years. So I'll try to see if I can still find it. And if I can, I'll leave a link in my description. Also on that note, if you're interested in checking out any of the products that Paul Rubens sent me, so the paintbrush set, the watercolor calendar, which I'm really excited to use, and I'm still brainstorming what I might want to paint for January. So if you have any ideas, let me know. And of course, the watercolor palette set. I will leave all of those links in this video's description if you want to check them out. So thank you again to Paul Rubens for gifting me these items. It was such great timing, and I really had a lot of fun playing around with these. And now that I've colored in the first few pages of my travel journal, I'm excited to continue on, and I will definitely share an update on my progress when I've completed a few more pages. All right, well, we have come to the end of this video. If you're still here, thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope you had fun hanging out with me while we chatted about stationery things and played with paints. I appreciate each and every one of you so much, and I'll see you soon in the next video.